Now to the bombshell tonight from the defense team in the Casey Anthony case. In motions filed with the court late today, Casey's defense team says former meter reader Roy Kronk should be considered a suspect in the death of Caylee Anthony. And they want to argue that point in court. Holly Bristow has been sifting through these motions tonight. Holly, these are pretty harsh accusations that the defense is making against Kronk.
They certainly are, Cale. Remember, Roy Kronk, he is listed as a state witness because he discovered Caylee Anthony's remains. But Casey Anthony's defense team spells out in these documents that they believe he could be a suspect, saying that there's as much circumstantial evidence connecting him to Caylee's death as there is to connect Casey Anthony.
While Roy Kronk wrapped up a day of questioning by the defense was busy filing motions to suggest Kronk should be considered a suspect in Caylee Anthony's death. Here's some of the accusations filed by the defense. According to the motions, Kronk's ex-wife Jill Curley told Casey's defense team in sworn statements that, quote, Mr. Kronk used duct tape on at least 2 different occasions to restrain her in the course of physical abuse, and that Mr. Kronk liked to brag about the particularly heavy duct tape he used, end quote. Evidence has shown that when Caylee's remains were found, there was duct tape wrapped around her skull. The defense points out that Kronk called police 3 times in August, claiming to have found something suspicious in the woods near the Anthony's home. Then he called again on December 11th, saying he found a bag on Suburban Drive and that a skull rolled out. But the defense points out that each time Kronk called, his description of what he thought he saw was different. And then there's this. Casey's defense team interviewed Kronk's son, Brandon Sparks. He says his dad called him in November of 2008 saying he, quote, found the skull of a little girl and that he was, quote, going to be on television and that Sparks should watch for it. The defense says that Kronk had, quote, monetary interests in finding Caylee. The defense also points out that, quote, Mr. Kronk took a personal day from where he used to work on December 10th, 2008, providing him with an opportunity to possibly stage his discovery of Caylee Anthony's remains.
Now, these motions go on to say that while circumstantial in nature, this evidence points to Mr. Kronk just as strongly as the state's circumstantial evidence points to Miss Anthony, and it clearly raises a reasonable doubt as to her guilt. Cale?
Now, Holly, I read through these things as well, and despite their arguments, this doesn't mean it's going to fly in court.
No, that's very true. Ultimately, it will be up to the judge to decide whether or not this evidence will be presented to a jury. These are motions asking for this to be presented to a jury.
And there are plenty more allegations as well. We'll get to those in the days to come in this latest filing. Holly, thank you very much.
We obviously want to hear from Roy Kronk on this, but his attorney is about as close as we are going to get tonight. Fox 35's Tom Johnson continues our live team coverage from the Orange County Courthouse. Tom?
Well, his attorney's name is David Evans, and he was eager to talk and defend Roy Kronk after that court filing by Jose Baez on Casey Anthony's behalf. We asked him to respond to some of the specific allegations in those court papers. First, the allegation that Kronk used duct tape on one of his ex-wives to physically abuse her. Here's what he had to say about that.
That it's just not true. There have never been any kind of allegations against him made such as these before today, and one would think that if these kinds of serious things had happened in the past, that somebody would have said something to somebody.
And we've heard a lot in regards to Roy Kronk about the phone calls he made to police saying that he had found remains in those woods. And again, the filings today said that the Baez defense team interviewed Brandon Sparks, Kronk's son, and that Sparks had said that Kronk had told him he had found a skull and that he should watch TV about it. Here's what Mr. Evans said about that one.
Roy said in his deposition today that he had spoken to some of his family members about the fact that he thought he'd seen a skull back in August, including to his parents, and so, you know, perhaps the person who gave that statement was confused about the timing or confused about what Roy said.
As for the question of money, is it what motivated Roy Kronk in this case? We talked with David Evans about that as well. We'll let you hear what he had to say about that, as well as some other interesting responses at 11. Live outside the Orange County Courthouse, Tom Johnson, Fox 35 News at 10.
Tom, thank you. We should mention we did put a call into Roy Kronk's ex-wife, Jill Curley, about today's new developments. She simply told us no comment.